Hello everyone. This is Kirishima here, and this part I kinda am not gonna lie to you guys. I learned that on our TV, apparently because we have Spectrum, you can watch episodes of a show that you missed. I just watched 3 episodes of Steven Universe, The Future. It's pretty good, and it's actually somewhat interesting, because never mind, I was gonna say something, but let me just say that a YouTuber had a theory and it was kind of proven right. Actually, he had two, but I'm not going to elaborate on that. Anyways, after where we last left off, they had just done the ball throw in the exam, and Deku was talking with Aizawa, saying that this happened, that happened, all that. And now then, this episode, I'm going to be trying to cover the heroes versus villains. Now, everyone is in the locker rooms changing, and they would all change into their hero suits. Deku and Toru, they would somewhat know what each other's hero suits are going to be, and everyone's asking what theirs are. Deku would quite simply just put on a tuxedo, kind of like, where is that? I found a picture earlier. No, well, this is Toru's hero suit. Because it doesn't make sense that she's just naked. She could use hair fibers or invisible hair fibers. But he has like the jacket, like this very long, well, not long, but never mind. He just wears like the standardized villain Deku like outfit where he just looks like a bartender. So he wears that, and he just has the tie, and he just always has his sleeves rolled up. So like this. Now, I actually really like the way that Deku looks in this, and I think it's a shame that people just use it for villain what-ifs. Because I feel like if you give Deku like a certain quirk, he could still use this as a hero outfit. Which is why if you give Deku 10 quirks, he is a badass. Now then, everyone's looking at that, and they would see Deku walk out, and Deku, he would just put on his gloves. Now, he would actually start putting on the strap he has on his gloves, and he would tighten it up. People would see this, and then they would just be asking Deku if that's it for his hero costume. He would just tell them, yeah, it's just this, why? People are then questioning why he looks so simplistic. He says that just because it's simplistic doesn't mean it doesn't look nice, and he frequently saw suits that looked nice, and he's always wanted one. So he just wants to use it for his hero costume. Not just that, but he was able to get fireproof and actually have it be somewhat, well, yeah, he just has it like fireproof clothing. I was gonna say bulletproof, but you don't really need to have something bulletproof whenever you can grow back a limb. Now then, this is whenever Deku would say that it's not really that whole flashy because he doesn't need it to be. Bakugo's hero costume, he would have actually had like, if you guys have ever seen the way people have drawn Bakugo's gauntlets actually laying down onto his arms, up to his forearms, let's say he has that style of gauntlet. Because the way his quirk worked, and the way he actually he thought he hurt Deku or killed him, would have actually sent him to court counseling. They would have sent him immediately, and he would have kind of reflected on not using his quirk for a while, but he would have started using it again, somewhat feeling bad about it. So he would see Deku, and as soon as he brings up his hand, he would he would go to like make an explosion, but as soon as he makes one, he just immediately just closes his hand and just puts it back down. Now Deku, he would have saw this, and so did All Might, so he would have just kind of he would have heard about what happened in class, so he kind of would have been in charge of pairing people up. So let's have it be. Oh, yeah, no, wait, I never even said it. I think I just said that Toro would walk out like this and people would be confused because they thought her quirk was a poltergeist quirk or was something different. She would just say no, it was invisibility and a light refraction. They would ask what she means. She would tell them that basically her skin, she can reflect light off of it to the point where she's invisible. And she kinda did not know how to control it up until she met Deku. They would then ask what she means, and he would just specify that one of his quirks kind of have a side effect to being used on people. People are somewhat taken aback, saying side effects, what do they mean? And he would say that if he has a quirk activated while passing through his portal, if he takes another person with them, they will essentially switch quirks. And it only lasts for about an hour or so. Now, hearing this, Bakugo would have been somewhat... He wouldn't want to jump at the point to do it, but hearing that it only lasts an hour, that was his deal breaker, so he would have just kept quiet. Now, Bakugo does have a bit of PTSD and trauma about that situation. But through many years of counseling, he was able to get over it. But after hearing that Deku... after hearing and seeing Deku, it kind of made him relapse and fall to the ground back in class. Now then, these are the teams. Deku and Toru are going to be the villains, while Bakugo and Kirishima are going to be the heroes. Now then, because of this, Deku and Toru would immediately look at each other, and she would then start powering up her quirk as she turns herself invisible. And as soon as she does that, all her clothing also disappears with her, and people are then confused as to where she went. As soon as she starts talking, that's whenever people kind of freaked out. He would just say that, don't worry guys, that's normal, but her hero suit basically is lined with not just hair fibers, but other things to help her reflect, well, help her hero suit reflect off the other things to help her quirk make her hero suit invisible. Now, I don't know if I stated this, but Mineta got kicked out of Class 1A, and Shinsho actually took his place. So that happened. Now, this is whenever Deku and Toru, they would be on the top floor talking about what they're going to do. Deku would say that he has a very good idea, and he would immediately just start walking down the corridor, and the lights would go out. As Deku's eyes begin to glow, every single light in the building starts popping over and over again. Deku would then crack a smile as he then just walks out of the room and walks into the hallway. Now, Deku would then wait for them to come to the top floor, and with Deku powering up his booster quirk or amp, this is whenever Kirishima and Bakugo, they would realize as they're going up the floors that it's getting darker and darker. And this isn't because they turned off the power. This is because every single light bulb or light in the area basically got overloaded by Deku's quirk. Now, Deku would just start singing a song while he's waiting for them in the stairwell. Close your eyes and count to 7. When you wake up, you will be in heaven. He starts singing that ominous song over and over again. And as soon as Bakugo would have heard that song, he would have froze up completely and start watering at the eyes. He is scared. He's just trying to figure out what's going on. He would then try telling Kirishima that he can't do this. He can't do this. This is crazy. He's not supposed to even be here. And Kirishima is just telling Bakugo that he needs to calm down, and they need to go. He would then ask what that is, and Bakugo would then say that that song is from before it happened, or the day it happened. Kirishima would immediately realize that Deku was just singing random notes or quoting horror novels. With, let's say Deku would quote a horror novel by singing a random song from it, and Tokuyami would actually point this out that that's from this dark novel. And it's especially talking about hunting down their prey. Now, as they would go up to the floors, they would start walking down the dark hallway, which is where the bomb is presumably at. They would then walk into the room, and all they see is Deku's glowing eyes, as he's saying that it's excellent that the heroes are here. Now he can finally have some fun. A bright flash of light would happen as Deku immediately appears behind them, and he would then punch Kirishima in the face. Kirishima would then be caught off guard, saying that that's crazy, and he didn't expect Deku to be that strong, and that wait, did you just punch me with a rock? Deku would then turn off his quirk as one of the lights overhead flickers, and he would see that Deku's arm is basically, not only are his fingers and his hands welded together in a fist, it essentially just looks like a giant gauntlet. Kind of like that with the whole, kind of like that with the whole flat end. This is whenever Deku would say that, or Kirishima would quote that that's not normal, that's a support item, why are you using that? Deku would just say that this is one of his quirks. He can weaponize any part of his body, and through brute force actually turn himself into armor. Or essentially, he can weaponize certain parts of his body, but through certain shaping and doing things like that, he can actually turn it into armor. So basically, if he were to try and weaponize a part of his, let's say if he were to try to weaponize his abs, he can make them look flat and appear like metal, or appear like any sharp tool. Like, they would appear like normal, but as soon as you go to punch them, they would essentially feel like every single muscle fiber is welded together, and immediately he could just shoot a spike out of his chest if he wanted to. So as soon as Deku would punch Kirishima would be caught off guard. Deku would then just use his telekinesis to actually pick Kirishima up, and he would slowly just start but he's twisting Kirishima's arms to the point where Kirishima just starts screaming. Now this is actually somewhat breaking his armor, and Deku would notice this and tell Bakugo that you need to attack me in order to win, don't you? That you would like to go for the combat route, don't you, Kanchan? Well, you need to fight me. Don't worry, I have a better handle on my quirks now. If you just throw an explosion, I'll be okay. Bakugo would then hesitantly just fire off one of his shoulder gauntlets, and All Might would say that that was very reckless and Bakugo shouldn't have done that, but he's watching as Bakugo's eyes are watering and he's trying to get over what he's doing. Because he essentially doesn't want to use his quirk, but he's trying to be a hero. And he's just saying that this is harder than he thought, he doesn't want to do this anymore. And Deku would immediately just appear from off the ground, and half of his shirt is ripped, so everything from this side over has essentially been blown off. Deku, with a giant hole in his arm, along with part of his sternum, and basically right here, is telling Bakugo that that was a pretty heavy hit, but he's not done yet. Now Bakugo is looking at Deku and he's horrified at what he's seeing, saying that they need to get him to a doctor, they need to get him to a hospital, and he can't do this and he's going to drop out of UA. Deku would immediately just turn his amp back on and regenerate his entire body. He would then look at his arm and he would just begin popping his knuckles against his face, saying that, this is going to sound kind of weird, but I like the old one better. Well, it's time to break this one in. Now, as soon as Deku said this, Bakugo was paralyzed by fear, saying that he can't do this, he can't fight him anymore. Deku would immediately just use his portal ability and appear right behind Bakugo, putting his hands on his shoulder, saying that is fine, but one thing you can never get over back when we were kids was your personality. You thought you were better than everyone. But now, I will give you an option. You always talked about being a hero. So, I'll give you 3 options. Drop out of UA and never become a hero. Or you can fight me and win. Or I can just knock you out and you can go cry. Or, how about another option you probably never even considered? You fight me, take me out, and actually win. Now, Kirishima is still screaming while Bakugo is looking at him. Bakugo would then immediately understand what Deku means and throw an explosion at him. Now, he's just recklessly throwing as many explosions towards Deku's direction as he can. And everyone's saying that Bakugo is finally using his quirk and it's very powerful, but All Might's saying that he's not doing it out of power, but he's doing it out of desperation. He doesn't even have his eyes open. People would then look closer and see that All Might is right. He would then finally open his eyes as he's throwing an explosion, and Deku would just catch his arm and just break the gauntlet along with Bakugo's arm, saying that was a good try, but you need to try better. Now, as soon as Deku said that, this is whenever all you would hear is just Hero Team wins. Now, why did the Hero Team win? Well, Deku would just immediately turn around and he would say that Kirishima is gone, and he would just say that, well, it looks like you guys won. Now then, my explanation for why they lost is because Deku would have seen Bakugo and immediately realized that he still hasn't gotten over the fact that if he uses his quirk, he might kill somebody. Or if he ever does use his quirk, that no one would ever... It would be a lose-lose scenario for everyone. Now, Deku essentially let Bakugo and Kirishima win to actually help Bakugo's mental state. Now, as soon as he would hear that they won, he would be somewhat confident, and he would immediately look at Deku with a smile before it would fade quickly. He would then just start apologizing, saying that he didn't mean to fire off that many explosions. Deku would just tell Bakugo that that's fine, and one of the quirks he has basically floods his body with adrenaline, so he can't really feel anything. Bakugo would look at Deku, saying that you can't feel anything, you can't feel pain, you can't feel fear, you can't feel any of that. Deku would say that no, he feels those, it's just pain is his problem. He has not been able to feel pain in years. He can bleed, but he cannot feel it. He might be able to die and he won't feel it. Now, Bakugo would then be catching up with Deku as he's trying to talk to him, and it's really hard for Bakugo, but this is whenever Deku would say that he needs to go see Miss Minuko. Now then, Bakugo would then go to meet her, and she would then be talking with Bakugo and telling him about quirk counseling and how it works, and explain the process that Toru went through and how whenever she was able to accept her quirk, she essentially got stronger and is able to now turn visible. So, what is going to happen is Bakugo is going to go to quirk counseling every day after school or anytime he needs to, and he was actually even given Miss Kenjo's phone number to call her in case she ever needs to. Now, that is where I'm going to be leaving this part off of. And I know that sounded very gruesome and very dark with the way how Deku essentially acted like a villain, but he needed to fit the role and the mold to actually help Bakugo. So, this is essentially that I gave Bakugo PTSD and some mental trauma, and now Deku is going to help Bakugo by saving him. But how do you help someone who doesn't want to be saved? It's harder than you think. Now, I'm going to be leaving this part off here, and I will be covering the USJ in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys haven't been paying attention, or if you have, then you would notice that I was going to bring Todoroki in here, but Kirishima would be a better fit because Deku could use his quirks better on him and fight him better. Now, the reason why I didn't bring Todoroki in was because I was going to have Deku actually use his fire and basically try and burn Todoroki alive with it. But Todoroki wouldn't immediately have caught on, so he would have allowed Deku to do this without trying to use his quirk. Well, his ice quirk and Bakugo would have immediately noticed, so it was a better idea to have Kirishima be in here instead because he can only harden his body. He has just standard defense that he uses as offense. That's his whole thing. The better his defense is, the stronger his offense is. Now, I'm going to be leaving this part off of here. Hope you guys have actually enjoyed the video. Now, I'll be recording I think this is part 7. I will be recording part 8 very soon.